Well, welcome and thank you for joining us for this webinar. It's all about goals and putting together your internet marketing plan. So thanks for joining us. Super excited about this. I really think watching and applying this webinar is going to help you get clarity for next year, maybe save you some money, maybe help you make a lot more money and give you some peace of mind throughout the year that you have clarity and you know where you're headed. What we're going to cover today is the importance of setting goals, trying to figure out how many leads you need to hit your target revenue goal, and then we'll figure out how to break that down monthly, since all months are not created equal in basement waterproofing. I want to briefly talk about some trends that I see happening in our industry, and then you're going to really need to come up with kind of a custom plan that's going to fit for your company. I've worked up a model that is just a model so that you can understand the math that goes behind it. This model might be too high for you. It might be too small for you. That doesn't matter. What matters is that you understand the math and that you actually do some of this work so you could have goals for your company. So in light of that, the stats say on webinars, like only half the people are really paying attention. The other half are watching. If you turn your phone off and your Facebook notifications and really focus and absorb this information, I really think it's going to help you for 2021. In case you don't know who I am, I've been in this industry for 25 years. I own Rainmaker Internet Marketing and Rainmaker for Contractors. I've done this for 10 plus years. Before this, I owned a basement waterproofing company for 15 years. It's kind of a unique setup, serving clients for 15 years and yet in the industry. So I've been on the other side of the desk for a long time. As an agency here, we're an award-winning partner. Google's flown us to their headquarters a few times. I've co-authored Intro to Marketing Automation, served on the board for the Basement Health Association, former president. Perhaps the most important thing, though, is that almost all of our clients are contractors, and certainly the highest percentage are in basement waterproofing and foundation repair. And that positions us to best serve people like yourself. One more thing I'll add, having been an owner and in the franchise world, I've probably done 180 monthly reports in an extremely detailed format. So I'm pretty familiar with setting goals, having daily, weekly, monthly, quarterly reports, evaluating, getting true focus areas. I've done a lot of that. So I want to share my knowledge and hopefully it's of help to you. So let me ask a question. What is the hardest part about online lead generation? If you feel comfortable putting something in the chat, you go ahead and do that. Over the years, I've heard people's concerns with this question and put some slides together. And here's what I hear. First of all, there's just way too many choices. In the center here is sort of our plan to help our customers dominate their space, their city, and the industry that they're in. We do make sure the website converts. We do SEO, AdWords, Facebook, online reputation. We nurture the leads. We're doing social, and then we track that so that they can figure out where their ROI is. And certainly those are all options for you. But then after that, there's, do I do Angie's List? I don't know, Home Advisor, Thumbtack. Do I do billboards, radio, TV? Nextdoor is a new one. Better Business Bureau. Do I go on Yelp? Do I do a sign in the yard? Do I do shows and events? Do I do canvassing? Like, where do you start? Like, where do you stop? So many options, and the opportunities in today's market, I think, having been in the industry for 25 years, perhaps it's the easiest time ever to generate a lead. But it can feel overwhelming. Like, where do I start? There's not clarity. How do I set my budget? What do I do with all these options? Like, what works? Like, I don't want to fork out all this money and invest into all this marketing and end up with nothing to show for it. I've been there. I mean, I've had my fair share of signing the contracts and making major investments and not getting a return. A lot of times it's I'm trying to grow the company. I'm trying to take that next step. And so you have to spend money to make money, right? So there's so many options. So I want to try to help you kind of figure out a goal that's reasonable so you can take a step with your company where you're getting the best return on investment, you're not overspending, and you're kind of spending that's within your reason to hit your goals. So there's, you can overspend money like we just talked about, but you could also underspend. And we see it quite often. There's many opportunities to generate more leads and people, they don't want to part with their money. You know, and so you're always trying to find that happy medium, my overspending and my underspending. If you have goals and clarity and you know how many leads that you need to make to hit your revenue goal, that's going to help you find the path. So that's what we're going to do today. So we're going to have clarity on goals, your targets, and if you have your KPIs, your key performance indicators, like what matters, that's going to really help you. One of the things I like to say about those, I don't like that KPI phrase because people don't talk that way. It's kind of like an insider's language. It's just good to have not too many areas to focus on. It's great if you could just have 3 important areas that you keep track of. If you try to keep track of too much, it could be overwhelming, and then you're not going to find the time to go through your reports and really focus on that. All right, so success is really going to be spending the right amount of money to get the right amount of leads so that you can hit your goal on a regular basis. All right. Brian Tracy, one of the best known sales consultants, says success is goals. Everything else is commentary. And clear goals can really be like a ship or a boat in the water with your sails up and the wind is pushing your sails and the crew is all working and you're in alignment and everyone's headed towards the same path and the same goal. And it's a beautiful thing. When you don't have those goals, a lot of times you could be a boat in the ocean with no sails and no wind, and the water's just pushing you around, and you're just responding to the next angry customer or the foreman that is sick now and supposed to finish a job, or that truck that's got a flat tire and now you've got to call a tow truck, or whatever fire that we run around in our industry and put out. When you don't have those goals that are like front and center in your life on a daily basis, you end up playing the fireman and just putting fires out. So we don't want that to happen. Before I talk about this next thing, here's a line that I often hear. And quite honestly, a lot of people like to do their internet marketing with us because we've, you know, I understand the industry. I've learned that the trade, spending my own money. I'm not reinventing the wheel. And then we can, because our team is well aligned. So I hear that a lot from owners saying like, well, I don't want to reinvent the wheel, right? Why not take advantage of people that are experts in this industry? So there's something in relation to like reinventing the wheel that that I would love for you to apply here. It would be great. And that is, let me just leave a bookmarker there and I'll come back to this. So here's like an amazing study done on goals. And maybe you've heard it, but if you could just revisit it again. 1979, a bunch of Harvard study grads were interviewed, and there's 3 groups of people. The first group is 84%. They had no specific goals as they graduated. Group 2, 13% of them had goals. You know, if you said, hey, what's your goal? They have some ideas, but they never really wrote them down. And then the third group, they had goals. They were clear, they were written down, and they had a plan to accomplish them. So 20 years later, they found the same people that they interviewed. And that second group, 13% of the class that had goals, they were earning on average twice as much as group 1, as the 84% that did not have goals. What I found is that a lot of people are in that second category. They have goals, they're written down, they're like, yeah, whether I write them down, they're in my head, what does it matter? I have goals. The last part of this study is, I think, amazing and revolutionary. The 3% that had clear written goals and a plan on how to get there, they were earning 10 times as much as the 97% all put together, like 10 times as much. So when I talked about not reinventing the wheel, this is a strategy that works. And you just have to write your goals down and come up with a plan. Not that you're guaranteed to make 10 times more than 97%, but clearly there's something here that seems to work. So I really want to encourage you to write your goals down, and having networked with a lot of different basement waterproofing owners and foundation repair owners, the really highly motivated ones, they have those goals posted on their doors or on their office. I remember one owner, every time he had it on his back wall. So every time when he would walk around his desk before he would sit down, he had one number that he was after, and it was the number of sales that he needed every single month. And there was a new goal that he taped on his wall every single month. And he just wanted those goals front and center. And when we don't have those goals, we tend to be hijacked by the various fire that we have to put out. So what are your goals for 2021, and how many leads will you need on a monthly basis to get there? So when we talk about goals, there has to be a clear framework. There has to be like a starting point and an ending point. And I encourage you to have a 1-year goal. No need to go, 2 to 5 years at this stage, and then to have quarterly goals and monthly goals. And at the end of each quarter, to take some time and evaluate how you did. Monthly, it's great to evaluate your monthly goals as well. I did that for years, and I always had 3 things that I needed to focus on. And every day I tried to touch those 3 things, because, it's like sometimes you start working and you're responding to emails, you're responding to a voicemail, you're responding to a text, and it's game on. So if I could just touch those 3 goals every single day before I put my fire hat on, that is really a good way to kind of steer your activities to try to make movement in that goal. But also, sometimes a monthly goal isn't always accurate. Maybe a key employee was off for a week. Maybe you had something major going on. But when you do the quarterly goals and you evaluate, you can clearly see some trends that are happening, and you might need to make some adjustments after that quarter. So let's try to figure out what your revenue goal is going to be for the new year, how much of that is going to be monthly, and then how many leads have to be booked, and then how many demos that's going to require. And then there's 2 assumptions going in here. It's the bottom 2. You need to know what your average sale is, and you need to know your net closing percentage. So let me back up on this slide, and I don't want to go too fast. So if I'm going too fast, feel free to say something in the chat, ask questions, and I want to help and make sure everyone understands. So don't be afraid to slow me down. In relation to your revenue goal, a good place to start, if you don't know how much you want to increase it, 20% growth, that's a good aggressive goal. I would say you don't want to go beyond that, and you don't want to go under that. If you're going to go under that, maybe go 10% or 15%, but 20% is a good aggressive goal. If you've been in the industry long enough, you know that if you grow too fast, sometimes you can't keep the quality going. You don't have those crews that can do really high quality work to keep your excellent reputation going. So you don't want to grow too fast. And there's growing pains when you grow too fast. It's not just the quality of work, but there's just communication things that happen. So 20% is a good place to start. We're going to talk about monthly, so I'll get there. And then when on the third one, when I say how many booked leads, so different companies use different terminology. I just want to be clear on the words that I'm using. When I say book lead, I'm talking about there's a date and there's a time, there's an eligible problem, they speak English, and you have a homeowner. Maybe for you only want both homeowners. Maybe you're just willing to meet with one homeowner. I'm not going to get into that because companies do things different ways, but you have at least a homeowner. It's basically somewhat of a closing situation. The key to this stuff is for you to be consistent with your company. So whatever rule that you come up with, just be consistent. I want to talk about a demo. A demo, in some companies, they call it a sit. Other companies call it a presentation. Other companies call it a demo. What I'm talking about there is they did a presentation, there was a price that was put on the table there was a solution offered. So if the sales rep or the inspector got to that level, that would be a demo. And so that is what counts. If the rep got there and qualified it and the homeowner said, just so you know, I'm not making a decision today anyway, and the rep kind of went through half the motions and then ended up leaving and said, you know, call me when you're serious and then I'll give you the best possible price. That's not a complete presentation. It's not a demo. Average sale, I know you have different products. Maybe you sell just carbon fiber or just a ventilation system, or you do waterproofing and you do foundation replacement and you have all different prices. You're going to have to figure out your average sale for that. Now, an easy way to do is just combine all that stuff. It's one way to do it. I know there could be fallout elsewhere, or if you really want to get detailed but don't bite too much off, is you could do this for your different products. I would try to encourage you just to, if you don't do this kind of work on a regular basis, put all your products together and just count your sales and come up with an average sale. And then your net closing percentage, you're going to have to figure that out. I would go off of what happened in 2020. I'm not going to talk a lot. I'm not going to talk really about sales at all. I'm just going to make one reference to it. But of course, if you increase your closing percentage, you're not going to need as many leads. So this is the model that I created. I'm going to walk you through how I got here. And if you can come up with this, this would be a great start. So the model that I have is you want to hit $3 million a year for revenue in 2021. Now what I did is I divided that by 12 and I came up with $250,000 per month. Average sale, $12,500. Again, maybe your sale is $18,000, maybe your sale is $8,000. I don't know. I just said $12,500. Again, the math doesn't matter as much as you understand, or the number doesn't matter, but you understand the math. Closing percentage, I'm using a 20% closing percentage. And what I did is I just unpacked this. I broke it down. And I'll get to the number of leads that you need to book with a date and a time and a problem, and then the number of demos or presentations that you need to give per month. And in this model, it's going to be 20 sales. So if I can get 20 sales at an average price of $12,500, some more, some less, average price $12,500, that's going to get me to $250,000 for the month. All right, let's figure out how we got here. I think I've walked you through all this. The 3 million, I just made it up. Whatever you're at, maybe in 2020, just maybe increase that by 20%. Divide that by 12. In this model, it's $250,000. Average sale is $12,500. And that's 20 sales per month. So you just take what you need per month and divide it by the average sale, and that's 20 sales. That's what you need. So how many booked leads will that require? Booked leads, again, date and time, you're going to need about 200. Now there's a percentage I'll walk you through, but in this model it's going to be 200, or you're going to need about 2,400 for the year. All right, hope you're tracking with that. I'm not going to go too deep on any of these numbers. There's a lot of different numbers you could chase in different ways. Let's just keep it simple for now. Okay, I have another assumption. 3 assumptions. 1 is the closing percentage, 2 is the average sale, and 3 is the average lead booked to demo rate. So I'm using 50% for simple math. Should be easy to understand. So not every lead that you talk to and set a date and a time with a problem and get a homeowner, not every one of those ends up with a presentation. Let's think of a few reasons why you wouldn't end up with a price on the table. Let's say the rep pre-qualified the lead and didn't do a full presentation. Let's say the rep got backed up into another lead. Maybe they were selling and they couldn't get to the lead that was set. Homeowner got disappointed, upset. They really expected someone out. They changed their schedule. They made sure they were available. You couldn't make it out there. It happens. Maybe you set the appointment a few days out, and in the meantime, somebody, some other company got in there sooner and they sold it and they called you and they canceled. Maybe the homeowner went out of town and they never rescheduled. So there's a lot of different reasons why you could set a date and a time and then it doesn't end up with a full presentation. Now, typically companies have a higher percentage than this, but again, simple math. All right, closing percentage, I'm using 20%. Pretty simple, straightforward. If you do better, high five, nice job, keep it going. If you're not doing as high as that, there's probably an easy way that you can make more money is try to improve your closing percentage. We're not going to go there right now. So then how many leads do you need to hit your monthly volume goal? We're going to hit that in a second. Here's the last formula here is pretty important. So, but I think it's simple. Maybe you want to write it down. So your monthly goal is 250,000. You're going to divide that by your average sale. In this case, it's 12,500. Now, whatever number you have there, divide it by 50% or 0.5. It's going to cut that number in half. And then you're going to end up with another number, and now you're going to divide it by 0.2 for 20%. What that's going to give you is a number of 200 in this model. So what that says is I need 200 leads. If I book 200 leads, I know that half of them are going to be presentations with a price on the table. That's going to be 100 presentations. I know we're going to close 20 of those. So 100 presentations, close 20 of them. That gives me 20 deals. What's my average sale? 12,500. I'm going to take my 20 deals, times it by 12,500. That's going to give me 250,000. There you go. So in this model, I need 200 leads per month, every month, to hit 3 million. So now, getting back to that slide with all the other options, now you say, how am I going to get 200 leads? And you could work that way. And I'll make a comment on that a little bit later on towards the end. All right. We're going to backtrack here just so make sure everyone understands. So what's your average conversion rate? A leads booked to demo, I did 50%. Again, yours is probably going to be higher. If it's higher, you don't need as many leads. Save a little money. Again, the math here, 200 leads divided by your demo rate, 0.5, and that gives you 100 demos, or 100 times that a rep went to a home from a lead that you booked and gave a price. All right. I see no chat coming up here, so I'm guessing that everyone totally understands what's going on here. So that's how we got this model. 3,250,000 a month, 12,500, 20% close, 200 leads booked, 100 demos, 20 sales. I know what you're thinking. There are so many variables. Sometimes it rains and it's crazy. Other times we have dry months. I know. Been there, done that. It happens. But you've got to try to come up with some kind of model. And again, in basement waterproofing, you don't always, not all months are equal by any means. It's this part of the gig, and you got to ride those waves. So this was about what worked for me. This was the percentage of business. Now, I was in the Chicago market, so it's going to vary where you're at. Since we support a lot of clients, we know that it's based on the seasons and the rain and the geographical location and so on. There's different months that are good. And you can't always predict that. And all the more reason why you might want to look at your quarters. What worked this quarter? What worked that quarter? What I did is I took my yearly goal and I broke it down per month. Now, how did I get these monthly percentages? I would track previous years. So I used the last 3 years. I added up what percentage I was doing in that month, and that was my percentage. So I used previous reports to get there. If you don't have any previous reports, you got to have something to be able to work it off of. You got to I mean, if you've been in the industry for a year or two, you could probably come up with some kind of reports. Now, I said that worked for me. If you add all these numbers up that I have on my screen, like January 5%, February 7%, you add all those up, you're going to get 100%. So there wasn't as much pressure on me, say in January, or especially in December, November. I didn't have to hit in this model 250,000. But I certainly needed to do more than that, say in the months of like July and October. For whatever reason, October was almost always one of our best months. March and April were always good too. All right, so you're going to have to figure that out for your company. And yeah, you probably should feel a little bit more pressure to produce more in kind of the prime season when it's not the dead of winter, you know, depending on where your location is at. So adjust your goals according to your monthly seasons. All right, so this is the last one. Your eyes might be glazed like, oh my gosh, what is this? There's probably nothing new on here. All I did is put it in a spreadsheet. That's interesting, phone call. So, so what you have here is the second column is this, these percentages. All I did is I took these percentages and I moved them over to the month accordingly. Now, if you look on the third column on the bottom, earlier on, we figured out that we need 2,400 leads. So if you take the 2,400 and you go back to the month of January and you multiply it by 5%, now you only need 120 leads for that month. And we're saying about half of those leads turn into actual presentations. So now you need 60 demos or 60 leads. And you're going to close 20% of those. That's an assumption. That gives you 12 sales. We said your average sale in this case is 12,500. That gives you a revenue goal of 150,000. So in January, with a lower percentage of 5% of all your business for the 12 months, you only need to hit 150,000. Way doable, way more doable than the higher goal that we had, right? All right, so what you want to do is take your percentages, put them in the second column, multiply the total number of leads that you need by the percentage, and that's going to give you that third column, the total leads. Same is true for the demo column. That's the fourth column. So 1,200 leads times it by for January 0.05, it gives you 60 demos. Take your demos by your closing percentage, and that's going to give you the number of sales. Your average sales, you see, that's all the same. And then it's going to give you your revenue goal. Now, if you take the far right column, add all those up, it's going to be 3 million. All right, might be a lot to absorb. You're smart people. I know you're going to get this. I want to make another comment. Some companies, their gross revenue is not that different than their net revenue. For other companies, their gross revenue might be 30% higher than their net revenue. Why is there a gap with some companies? It's because of finance rejects. They applied for finance. Their credit was bad. No bank can get them approved. The deal canceled. Or it's a cancel rate. Like some companies have to have a cancel rate of something between 8 and 12%. Why? Because they encourage a one-time close, and there ought to be some kind of buyer's remorse out there. They're not just order takers where they're doing a presentation and then they call and they send an email and they call again and say, have you made your decision? Some companies don't do that, so there's a gap. So in this model, I'm not doing that. And I know there's other companies that say, we don't do the one-time close, so our net is pretty much of a net deal, and we don't really even count it a deal unless it's been approved finance. So the difference between gross and net is negligible. So we're good with this model. That's the model that I'm going with, if that helps. All right. If you have questions on this, feel free to contact me. I'm happy to kind of walk you through it. I'm happy to review your goals with you. Here's 6 ways to hit your revenue goal and save money. Just some tips that I've learned along the way. Even if you have a very small staff, and even if it's just for you, I want to encourage you to know your why. Why do you get up every single day and try to grow this foundation repair basement waterproofing company? What is your why? Yeah, maybe it's because you want to provide for your family and yourself, and you're thinking about your future, and that's awesome. I mean, that's good. It's noble. Respect that. You run a clean, honest business. If you believe in your product and your service and your pricing and all that you do for a customer, you work in your community and you provide a great service and you create healthy, dry homes for people to live in and for them to enjoy their family, that's a great, noble cause. And I certainly want to encourage you. But sometimes when we don't have clarity on our why, it can feel like burnout. We forget why we're doing this. I would encourage you to listen to this TED Talk by Simon Sinek. It's a very famous one. It's the 3rd most listened to talk of all time. It's how great leaders inspire action. And he uses the example of Google. And what was different about Google is those employees really understood their why. They knew why they were working every day. And that's why they were willing to work crazy hours, and they loved their job. It was highly, highly motivating. They were really, and they successfully did. They wanted to simplify technology and put it in things. And look at, if it weren't for Apple, I'm not sure if I'd have my Android the way it does, the way it works. So I'd encourage you to know your why. And then try to align your staff. So when everyone is kind of working in the same direction after the same things, there's synergy that happens, and it's a culture really in your company that is powerful and beautiful, and it makes everyone lighter, and it rallies the troops, and you can go after the goals that you're wanting to. And if you have that employee that it feels like there's a black cloud that walks into the office every time they come in, you got to fix that. Do everything you can to turn that around. And I really believe in giving people, having that direct communication, giving them a second chance. But if you can't work it out, it's talk to too many owners that once that black cloud leaves, it's like everyone's like, wow, like holy cow, finally there was air to breathe in this office, and now work's enjoyable again. So don't let someone hijack your company. Know your why and lead your troops there. All right, second one. This is an important one. I'm going to spend a few minutes on here, but get a website that converts. Like, there's so many little factors that matter. We get calls of people saying like, "Hey, we want SEO, we want to rank #1," and you really want leads, right? Like, no one really wants a drill. You don't go to Home Depot to buy a drill just to have a drill and say, I got a drill. No, you want to put a hole in something. And like for leads, you're buying leads. You really want sales, right? So do you want web visitors? Do you want them just to hang out and go like, I'll look at another one? Or do you want them to call you? So kind of go through your website, pull it up now, not just desktop, but also mobile. And I'll walk you through some questions, and you could look to see what you think of your own website. See if there's like a tweak or two that you can make that maybe is going to convert some web visitor into a lead. So here's some questions for you. Does it load quickly? In our ADD world, is it boom, information, and then they go somewhere? Are they being given exactly what they want quickly? If you have one of those, especially in mobile, if it's taking too long to load or can't read it, they're going to leave. Second one, this is a big one. Are your images authentic? And are there some videos there? If you have the guy that looks like a model with the yellow construction hat and his teeth are like glaring white and he's holding his clipboard, get rid of that. Get rid of that photo and put yourself in there, or put one of the crews in there. That just shouts like, hey, we're hiding behind these stock photos. People want a view. They want to like look into your window and say, who are these people? Can I trust them? Can I connect with them? Putting those kind of photos there, they don't help you. Do you have reviews on your website that people can read? That helps. People read websites now. Reviews, and I think that people trust reviews off of your website, but I think your website should still have them on there anyway. Are there clear like calls to action? Are you telling people what to do? Is your phone number on the top right hand side, or are you playing hide and seek? Like, hey, you want to call us? Well, then you got to click contact us, and then when you go to contact us, you got to find our number somewhere on the page. Don't do that. Save people to click. Just put it big. They want to connect to some company. So typically the top right-hand side with a call to action like call now, or with your hours there, or open, put a picture of someone willing to take a phone call. Those things matter. Put credibility signals on there. BBB, Angie's List, Home Advisor, any awards that you have, something that the customer is going to recognize that, okay, this is a company that has credibility. And make sure there's a web form. We like to put those web forms on the home page, not like, again, hide and seek. Because when people want to contact you on the weekend, they sometimes assume you're not there. So they want to put a web form in there, and they're like, cool, I got this done. If this company really wants business, they're going to call me, say, on Monday morning or the next morning. So calls to action, web forms, and take advantage of live chat. More and more people, they don't want to talk. They just want to do chat. And the same thing with texting, SMS, and any kind of marketing automation. Marketing automation, the prices have come down. It's a little bit easier to figure out. And I would say take advantage of all those types of things to convert web visitors into actual leads. There is a resource on our web page. If you go to Rainmaker for Contractors, a few tabs over, there's going to be free resources, and there's several there. There's one called Website Conversion Factors, and you can find that if it's helpful to you. So make sure it's built to convert. So write down an action item or two. Like, what is something you could tweak on your website? From what I've seen out there, there's many websites that just lack authentic images. That you would not know. I mean, all right, so sometimes they're real images, and sometimes they're that cruise only. Who owns the place? Like, who's behind? Who's the Wizard of Oz? Can we pull the curtain back and kind of see who that owner is, and not just a picture, but a little bit of a bio, and maybe even your sales reps or the inspectors, and tell us a little bit. Give me something to connect with. You like to go to the Arboretum. You like to watch baseball. You play with your kids. You're involved in the community. What is it about you that helps me connect with you? So that's a common one. Web speed also is a common one. There's a lot of tools on the internet that you could check to see how fast your website loads. Okay, number 3, customer review culture. I'm going to ask some questions, and you can kind of ask yourself, hey, do I have this? Most everyone I talk to, they say, yeah, I know I got to get more customer reviews. I know it's important. I just haven't got around to it. It's really important. Make this year the year that you get tons of customer reviews. So here's 5 questions for you. Are you asking for reviews on 90% of your jobs? Can't please everybody. That one customer that you did a phenomenal job and they found a cigarette butt on the front lawn and they're really upset. Then don't ask them for a review. But, most everyone, they're probably thrilled with your work. They're thrilled with your company. In today's world, you really got to over deliver and really delight customers. You got to be asking those people for reviews. And then do you have a monthly goal posted for customer reviews? For example, if you had 20 reviews right now, do you think at the end of January you could have 25? I think that's doable. So that's, put that somewhere in your office, make that a goal, try to get, make it obtainable and reachable and give people a path to get that. Do you read customer reviews in staff meetings? I love this. It does so much. To me, it opens the meeting on a positive note. And the second thing it does is it reinforces our why. We're there to create healthy, dry, usable space for people in their house, in their foundation, in their basement, crawl spaces, and so on. And I love reading those reviews because it reinforces the good things. And then the third thing that it does, it allows me to acknowledge someone. Usually it's someone it's a foreman, and maybe someone else booked the lead and someone else process the paperwork, and I could acknowledge the sales rep that put the whole thing together. And so usually in any one review, I can acknowledge probably 3 or 4 people. It's just a fun, positive way to start a meeting. And I also liked posting those reviews on the wall so that people see them. And then it gives you another reason to acknowledge people. Great work, Sue, on this. Bob, awesome job. And then put that on the wall. You could retype them, you can make it look pretty, or you could put the original one out there. And then our employees incentivized to get reviews. So if you do those things, you probably do have a company culture of customer reviews. And I would really strive for that in 2021. Reason why I'm slipping this in here is because when you have a lot of reviews, people are checking your online reputation before they're making the phone call. So when you have those reviews, it's like, you know what? A lot of people use this company. I've read the reviews. They look amazing. The owner's responding after each one. They really care about their company. That's going to get you more leads, and then you could spend less money on generating leads. So just some tricks of the trade here. All right, number 4, increase your closing percentage. I'd be happy to spend several hours on sales and increasing closing percentages. I'm not going to do that. Get your sales reps, even if there's only 1 or 10 or anything in between. Have a meeting on what can we do to increase our closing percentage. Write 3 things on the wall at the end of the meeting and make that a focus for your sales reps. Of course, if you can increase your closing percentage, you're not going to need as many leads to hit your goal. Everyone's going to be happier. And last thing I'd say about closing percentage, take advantage of the many conferences on sales. There's lots of books on sales and closing percentages, and Audible, like all the reps are driving around. Audible subscription is something like $12 or $13. And you get so many books that are available inside Audible. I think with that, you get one per month. But I know some sales reps that have heard, one book 5, 6, 8 times just because it's so good. It's motivating to get that stuff in your head. Know and track your KPIs, your key performance indicators. As I said earlier, don't track, you could track them all, but don't try to focus on too many. Don't try to change everything. Just try to change a few. But you got to know, when you're spending all this money, and obviously in today's world, a lot of marketing money is going towards online. You've got to know how much money is being spent on Google Ads, how much money is being spent, say, on Facebook, on SEO. When you're spending this money, where's it going? And are you tracking your phone calls? And can you tell where the leads are coming from? You need to know that, because that's going to help you. You can spend more on what works and spend less on what doesn't work. And I would say work with an agency that specializes in your space. And if you happen to be a waterproofing company or a foundation repair company, I know an agency that specializes in this. But, we're not the only ones. But here's the wisdom behind this. When the whole team is kind of rowing the same direction, we're putting all of our time and energies and our learns into supporting the same type of client, and we could take learns over here and apply it over there. You get really good at what you're doing when you're doing it over and over again. I think there's an advantage versus going with a good marketing company that has to sort of experiment with your money and try to figure out the industry. Maybe they had a slick presentation, they talk with a lot of confidence, but if they don't have all the insight that a company that specializes in this space, they're just not going to be able to compete. All right. Takeaways from that little section. What are 3 things that you can improve on? Anything come to mind? Know your why. Maybe with your website, try to go for some more authentic images. I mean, they're all great. They're all great topics to help hit your revenue goals. Customer reviews. I'd say 90% of companies that I know in our space can improve customer reviews. Very few people really have that dialed in. And even if they say they have it dialed in, I'm kind of on the outside going I want to be fair. I want to acknowledge good work, right? But at the same time, that's such an important area. You got to ask, is there any other way that we can improve this? And usually there is. All right, so far we've covered clear goals and targets for 2021. Make sure your website's optimized, and then just some tricks on how to increase or hit your revenue goal and save some money. some key trends that I want to talk about. Here's what I think is happening in 2021. I think there's going to be a shift more to message conversion. So more and more people are going to be using live chat and texting than ever before. What was it, like maybe 10 years ago when texting, there was more texting that happened over phone calls. More and more people are getting comfortable with live chat and texting to talk to companies. This younger generation is getting older, and they're kind of increasing the market share, and they don't want to talk on phones. And now older people are more comfortable with, I'd just rather text. Can I just set something up? So I think that's a trend. I mentioned this already, more authentic websites. Try not to hide behind those stock photos. People want to connect with you. So I think we're going to see more websites that you're going to really get to know the company and their office and their employees and so on. Third one, people love videos. You've heard this before. YouTube is the #1 search engine. That's all videos. There's not a bunch of text. So people, it takes less energy to watch a video, and so people like videos. So take videos. You don't need to be a pro. There's something like 96% of all the videos, 97% on Facebook are taken with smartphones. Smartphone, with the technology they have, that's a plenty good quality image for video. You don't need to be a pro to do this. In fact, a lot of studies will show that the real authentic ones that are taken with smartphones actually convert better than something that the lighting was perfect, the audio is perfect, because people don't trust the cleaned up images as much. And we think the winners in this industry are going to be an all-in execution. They're going to be heavy on local, SEO, pay-per-click, social, home advisor, and all the other lead source. And they're going to keep track of this, have their KPIs, and really be dialed in. So we think the winners are kind of like all the bigger guys are going to get bigger. And then that other trend that we see is there's going to be more of that omnipresence of Google and Facebook, which their technology is so dialed in with artificial intelligence. There's going to be more of, like, for example, this. So we say Google is more of an intentional lead, meaning someone typed basement waterproofing. They're looking for a waterproofer, right? And then Facebook is a little bit more of a disruptive lead. They're not looking for a waterproofer. You got an ad got dropped in their feed, and suddenly it's like, oh, basement waterproofing. So you would think that the Google lead has a higher closing percentage because it's more intentional, because the motive to get a waterproofer is there. Generally speaking, that might be true, but here's where it gets a twist when you study the customer journey and you see where they've been at. With artificial intelligence, Facebook is able to tell that maybe they've already been to 2 basement waterproofing websites, and we program Facebook to say, hey, find me someone that is going to click on my basement waterproofing ad. That's who I want to target. And so Facebook, in their big data collection and artificial intelligence, can figure that out. Not always 100% with accuracy, but way more. So you might think, oh, this lead came from Facebook. This is a disruptive lead. The intent isn't there. But hey, maybe they've already had 2 basement waterproofing companies out to their house in the last few weeks, which kind of makes that lead into a very active customer looking for the right waterproofing company. So you can't always judge the lead by the lead source because there's just so much crossover. But the reliance on Google and Facebook to kind of be dialed in. I mean, what is it today? They said, like 20 states are suing Google because they're dominating the market space. They have a monopoly going on. So these are the trends that we see in 2021 happening. All right, so getting towards the end here. So build your plan for 2021. How many leads do you need to hit your revenue goal? Hopefully you understand the math now. If you don't, please contact me. I'm happy to walk you through that. And how many leads and sales will you need per month? So change that, be kind to yourself. If it's a month that you typically don't do really well, that should be a smaller goal. If it's a month that you kill it, then that goal should be higher. Now, what lead sources will you use? Some tips: if you have something that's working well and you're tracking, what you're spending and you understand it, and it's working well, don't break it, keep doing it. Maybe if it's working real well, spend more money on that. And if you're saying like, you know what, 2020, it was pretty good. Like I made a good profit. I hit my goals. The leads are there, but I want to grow 20%. I'm probably going to need 20% more leads somewhere, right? What lead sources should I do? Can you spend more on what you have? I don't know. Home advisors, typically you're looking at about $50 a lead. That lead's going to be sold to 4 other waterproofers, 3 or 4 other ones. Google ads can be pricey. You might be spending, $200 a lead. Local SEO, depending on how well it's dialed in, you might be looking at like 30 to 50 to 80. All depends on competition. There's a lot of different lead sources out there. One tip I would give is if you're going to add a new lead source and it's a decent sized financial investment, focus on that lead source for a while, like really master it and get it down. Don't just assume that you just hire this company and you throw money at it and you get leads and you figured it out. Usually there's some ins and outs of how to work this lead, how to understand it. Like for example, like a home advisor, there's probably, 3 or 4 categories that you should be in. It just kind of depends on what your services are. It might take a while. It might take you a little bit to figure out that you should probably get out there like as quickly as possible. Because if you wait on that, then, you might not even see that lead. There's a lot of like little ins and outs things. So I would encourage you to try to master that lead source before you jump into another new lead source. And then make sure that you have tracking systems in place and track this stuff. So, the typical stereotypical entrepreneur, they're kind of like making it up as they go, and they've had to learn these skills of running a business and being disciplined and looking at the reports and tracking this stuff. Sometimes we entrepreneurs, we have to wear all different kind of hats, whether we like it or not. We're overly responsible. If you have someone that's better at it than you, please empower them to do this for you. Maybe they could do the reports, or maybe they could do the tracking and you could do the reports. Sometimes when you do the reports, you can really see what's going on in your business when you're transferring these numbers, and suddenly you go like, wait, what's going on with this? Where you might not have caught that if you have someone else doing the end report. But it's really important that you have that discipline of tracking and having those systems in place and knowing what money you're spending and where it's going and what kind of result that you're wanting. So again, this is our plan to help our clients dominate. We take our clients through this, local SEO and pay-per-click and Facebook ads, and really push customer reviews and tracking and giving you a dashboard for your KPIs. And we also actually help with Home Advisor. We actually have an API with Home Advisor so that we can send notifications out for our clients' Home Advisor leads. So what takeaways did you get from this? We're just about over here, so now there's a good time. Try to write 2 or 3 things down. What can you do? What'd you learn? What'd you notice? What are some action points that you can put into place? Hopefully, if you don't have your 2021 plan with goals for each month, you could do that in these next couple of weeks before the year end. Usually this is a slower time of the year. So hopefully you could get that in place and then post those goals and like really develop the habit of reviewing those goals and trying to figure out what's working, what's not, what can we improve. It's really going to help you steer the ship and not underspend, but also not overspend, and help you take those steps to grow your company. So we've covered setting goals, optimizing your website, latest trends, and then trying to develop a custom plan, which you're going to have to do some of that work yourself. If you're interested in a free strategy session, we cover a lot. We have a lot of different tools that could really help you understand what's working, what's not working, your ranking reports, your directory listings, your social presence, online reviews, your website conversion effectiveness. So many things we could kind of show you, and it wouldn't take a lot of time. So if you're interested in that, let us know if we could be of any help to you. If you just want to talk about something, whether it's a webinar or you have a question, please contact us. All right. Thanks for your time, and I hope you have a great 2021.